When the old pickup truck rolled onto the familiar dirt road leading to the ranch, Daniel Carter never imagined the peaceful summer he longed for would begin with a sight that made his heart sink. On the barley field his father once farmed, now came the roar of bulldozers and white spray-painted lines crisscrossing the ground, as if the land had been reborn into something monstrous. Daniel gripped the steering wheel, cold sweat trickling down. He had left Denver, where for years he lived under the pressure of high-level meetings and the relentless demands of the aviation industry. Once the Western Regional Director of the Federal Aviation Administration, he had been responsible for flight safety across half the country. But the midnight emergency calls, the congressional hearings, and the weight of corporate lobbying had drained him. All he wanted now was to return to the place his parents had lived, where he once rode horses and breathed clean air. But what he had hoped for, the chirping of crickets, the scent of hay, the golden glow of sunset, was gone. Instead, dust clouds, heavy machinery, and strangers driving stakes into his pasture. Daniel stopped the truck and got out. His boots sank into the churned soil. He walked straight toward the group directing the work. At the center stood a tall woman in a crisp suit, holding a clipboard. Her face was sharp, her smile cold. "Mr. Carter, isn't it?" she said, as if she had been expecting him. "I'm Victoria Blake, president of the Sunrise Valley Development Council. Welcome home. I'm sure you're pleased to see us bringing the future to this land." Daniel frowned. "The future? This is my land. What are you people doing here?" Victoria slid off her sunglasses and glanced at him with thinly veiled amusement. "A private airstrip, Mr. Carter. A first-class project that will put our community on the map. The majority of residents voted in favor. And sooner or later, you'll see this as a golden opportunity." Heat rose in Daniel's chest. He wanted to shout at her, call this what it was, blatant trespass. But instead, he took a deep breath. In his mind, his father's voice echoed, "Son, this land isn't just dirt. It's our blood. Never let anyone take it away." Daniel clenched his fists, stared directly at Victoria, and said quietly, "You just picked a fight with the wrong man." The days that followed showed Daniel the true meaning of war. The Sunrise Valley Council bombarded him with fines, for leaving hay bales too close to the construction site, for letting his cattle block community access. When he parked his tractor across the entrance, a notice arrived immediately, obstruction of community development, penalty, $1,000. Almost every night, anonymous letters showed up in his mailbox, sell while your land is still worth something. Don't stand in the way of progress. Meanwhile, Victoria hosted grand meetings at the community center. She stood on stage, voice ringing with confidence. "We won't have to drive hours to Denver International anymore. Imagine your private jet landing right at your doorstep. Property values will double, even triple. This is our historic moment. And those who refuse will be left behind." Applause thundered. Some residents chanted her name. But in the crowd were uneasy faces. Mrs. Garcia, who lived on the next farm, whispered to Daniel, "Since they started digging, my windows shake every night. I can't sleep. But if anyone speaks out, they're branded as enemies of the community." Daniel forced a smile, but inside he knew Victoria was manipulating them, dressing greed up as progress. One evening, he confronted her directly at the site. "Victoria, this is theft. My family has worked this land for generations." She gave a mocking laugh. "Mr. Carter, majority rules. You're one man. We are a community." Daniel's voice was steady, low, but sharp as steel. "One man can stop a crowd, if that man has the law on his side." Victoria narrowed her eyes, then turned away. "Law? We'll see about that." Tensions escalated fast. At night, floodlights and bulldozers invaded his fields. The roar spooked his horses into frenzy. Daniel rushed out, but workers waved him back, orders from the council. He began installing trail cameras around the ranch, documenting every violation. He kept meticulous notes, time, location, company names. he secretly recorded council meetings where Victoria bragged about multi-million-dollar investments and exclusive memberships. Neighbors were split. Some supported Victoria, dazzled by promises of wealth. Others quietly sympathized with Daniel but were too afraid to speak up. Mike, a young father, confided in him, "My kids can't sleep with all the noise. But my wife thinks selling the land will make us rich." "I'm torn, Daniel." Daniel clapped him on the shoulder. "Hold steady. The truth always comes out." But in private, doubt gnawed at him. One night, staring up at the star-filled sky, he wondered, can one man stand against an entire community? Then he remembered his father's grave, and the vow he had made, "I will never let this land be stolen." Resolve hardened inside him. He called an old contact in Washington, sent every file he had gathered. The reply came short, but heavy with meaning. "Stay firm, Daniel. When the time comes, show them who you are." July blazed with heat. Across what was once Carter farmland now stretched a slick black runway. Red banners flapped along the fence, "Welcome to Sunrise Valley Airstrip, gateway to the future." Crowds gathered, investors, reporters, residents in suits and sundresses, champagne glasses in hand. Victoria Blake arrived in a royal blue dress, sunglasses gleaming. She climbed the podium, voice amplified through speakers. "Today, history is made. Sunrise Valley will no longer be a forgotten rural town, but a beacon of progress. No more traffic jams, no more long drives. Our skies are open, and the future lands here." Applause erupted. Above, a small aircraft circled, dropping altitude for the inaugural landing. Daniel stood in the throng, hat pulled low, heart hammering. This was the moment. He pushed forward, voice cutting across the crowd. "Stop!" Heads turned. Daniel pulled a gold badge from his pocket, holding it high. "My name is Daniel Carter, former regional director of the Federal Aviation Administration. By federal law, this project is illegal. No permits, no environmental review, no safety checks. That plane, if it lands, violates federal aviation law. The pilot could lose his license." Gasps rippled. The plane wavered, then throttled up, pulling away from the runway. Victoria's face drained of color. You can't do this." The community approved. Daniel slammed a thick folder onto the podium, voice thundering. "The community has no jurisdiction over my land. And this," he waved the papers, "is a cease and desist order from the FAA. With fines starting at $250,000. Cheers burst from residents who had long suffered the dust and noise. Investors shouted angrily, demanding refunds. Cameras flashed. Victoria stammered, then collapsed as deputies moved in, taking the documents from Daniel. In the aftermath, headlines exploded, "Fraudulent airstrip shut down." Victoria Blake was charged with fraud and unlawful construction. The Sunrise Valley Council was dissolved in disgrace. The blacktop runway was torn up, replaced by fresh green grass. Neighbors came to Daniel's ranch with casseroles and coffee, apologizing for being misled. Many admitted they had been blinded by promises of quick wealth. One evening, Daniel rode his horse across the restored pasture. The breeze was cool, the sky endless, free of roaring engines. Only birdsong and the quiet strength of the land remained. Justice had prevailed. Daniel Carter's story is more than a battle over a ranch. It is a reminder, sometimes what is called progress is only greed in disguise. Justice does not come from majority votes, it comes from truth and the rule of law. So what about you? If your rights, your land, or your freedom were stripped away in the name of the community, what would you do? Would you fight back, or stay silent and lose it all? Think about it. Share your thoughts. Because justice only survives when there are people willing to defend it.